Greetings and salutations, old friends, and hopefully some new friends, and welcome to Truth Seekers, a special weekend edition. That's right, you guys are making me work overtime, but I wouldn't have it any other way because tonight we get to go further down a rabbit hole that first started some time ago. Some time ago, a former military woman, Air Force officer, and Defense Intelligence Agency employee started telling some incredible stories about contact with alien beings that she had inside an apparent secret alien base inside a mountain. She even went as far as having a press conference held at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., publicly telling stories of meeting aliens inside a secret base. Throughout her telling of these stories, she mentioned the people who actually owned the mountain where she was brought to, which were codenamed Wayne and Tricia. Now, if you followed this story along with me, you'll know that I tried my very best to locate these people. First, I decided that this woman was making up the entire story and these people were her imaginary friends. Later, finding out, no, these were real people, the Wayne and Tricia that she mentioned. Now, there's the story gets complicated because we believed that we found the mountain, we believed that we found the Wayne, and Anjali was very deceptive and lied to me, led me to believe that we had indeed located the right Wayne who owned the mountain and the right mountain. Then some other people got involved and things got crazy. And you can see some of the previous streams that we have done on this story, interviewing both Anjali, then having a panel show to discuss why the expedition, originally Anjali, in her press conference, promised that she was collecting a team of investigators, scientists, etc., to go back to the mountain and get the physical proof of the aliens. That was canceled. And there has been all this drama back and forth. People have even blamed me for the expedition getting canceled. I don't believe that's the case, but recently, finally, we located what is absolutely positively the right, quote, Wayne and Tricia, unquote. That's not their real names. I gave him the option, and I'm kind of impressed. He's a very brave guy because he's decided he's going to use his real name tonight, concerned that other people will find him because of the 911 call, because of other reasons. So for the first time, we are going to get to hear from the actual Wayne in Anjali's stories. And of course, I was incredibly interested in hearing if he would confirm or deny her telling of the events. So for the first time ever tonight, Wayne speaks, friends, and we are bringing it to you in a Truth Seekers exclusive story. My thanks to Charlie Weiser and James A. Conrad and others for helping to make this possible. And of course, my thanks to, I think it's very brave what this guy is doing because this could turn into a circus very quickly. And, I hope that doesn't happen. But I really wanted to give him an opportunity to tell the story from his perspective. And we'll get, I believe, after tonight, we will get closer to the actual and real truth about Anjali and her alien experiences. So without further ado, let's bring in our very special guest, Wayne.
Hey, how you doing?
I can call you Brian now, right?
Sure you can. Sure,
okay.
You can call me Brian.
Great. Well, thanks for doing this tonight. I'm very happy that I get to bring the public your side of the story. I don't know where to begin, but I thought that we could begin with the beginning. How did you meet this woman? How did you end up, inviting her back to your home? And let's take it from there, right?
Okay. Well, we met at a coffee shop.
So that part's true.
Yeah, we're at a coffee shop. This coffee shop's kind of set up like a living room, kind of. It's at the time anyway of that place. Haven't been there in a long time.
I love places. There's a few places like that in Philly. You just go in, you get your drink, you hang out with friends, right?
Yeah, it's like
Laid
coffee
back.
and couches, you know what I mean? So you're kind of intimate in this place. So, whoever is around the circle is part of the conversation. You know what I mean? So, I used to wear this medicine bag around my neck for about 5 years when I was fighting cancer.
Can you hold that up one more time? I'm gonna solo you so everybody can see that. Interesting. So you believe that's what got the conversation started, right?
A little spoon. It could be. I think the conversation might have started with health. I don't remember just walking into a coffee shop and immediately talking about aliens on the mountain. So I would say it started with health, and I was the guy that used to like to dose everybody. Because I want
You're my kind of friend, Brian.
Me, you know what I mean? So I believe I dosed her in the coffee shop, along with anybody that wanted any.
Okay, just to be clear though, but when you say dosed, because my original theory was that she got dosed with some sort of hallucinogen, but you dosed her with THC oil. Concentrate, cannabis oil,
right?
Correct?
Yes, cannabis oil, THC, yes. And if you're not used to this stuff, it can be strong. I've found out through the years, if you're on any kind of pharmaceutical drugs and you mix this with that, it can have a different effect. I'm not saying that that's any case. These are just things that I know, that I've learned through people. You know what I mean? Learned by people's stories. So
yeah, I've heard that as well. Yeah,
right.
I've heard that if you're on any kind of, especially if you're on any kind of psychological medication, like depression or anxiety, it could interfere with that.
Definitely enhance something. You know what I mean? It does bring things out for sure.
Yeah, and somebody's asking in the live chat, did she know she was getting dosed? You didn't like slip it in her drink. You.
Oh no, absolutely not.
She knew she was taking it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh no, yeah. It was, yeah, for sure. You have to actually eat it. You have to,
Thanks, Mr. DB Cooper. Just so you know, people are throwing money at me, and I don't want to interrupt the conversation, but I want to acknowledge the people that are supporting the show. He said I would have paid pay-per-view for this, Brian. So yeah. Well, so you meet her in this coffee shop, you're having a conversation, you start talking about the cannabis oil, and she takes a dose of it. Right?
Sure, we probably all did around the circle. Who knows, because and this coffee shop serves wine, by the way. So some of us were drinking alcohol and some weren't. So I don't know who was and who wasn't really. And then soon after that, we came back up to my place, and I used to invite people. I was a little, I used to be a lot. I was friendly for, and I didn't always think either. I'll just tell you that. Like the radiation that I took kind of zapped my brain for a while. So, I did.
Yeah, but I think that's okay. So you're like happy to be alive, and you meet new people, and you socialize, and you say, "Hey, come and hang out at our house."
Yeah, it was kind of like, well, then we were talking about aliens in the coffee shop. So that's kind of what brought her. That story did come up. Like the conversation of aliens came up, and that's probably what brought her up here for, just to show her the mountain. And all we were saying is there's alien sightings on our mountain in the 60s, and there's a book out there.
Yeah, I tried to find the book. I have to reach out to a friend of mine who's like a walking encyclopedia of UFO stuff. He would know.
I'd like to know.
Apparently, yes. Apparently, there is a book that details somebody seeing or experiencing or meeting aliens right in that area in that mountain. So you were talking to her about the history of there may be some, and there's sometimes there's UFO sightings in that area and things like that, right?
Yes. And that's all it really was. So when we all came up here, let's see if I can remember this right. She had a male friend with her, but he didn't come. She drove herself. He left. other friends came up as well that are, that are friends, that stay here sometimes. They were in their car. So anyway, we all came up and proceeded to, have some more cannabis oil. And
Oh no.
Well, why not? Now you're home.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying so she takes one dose at the coffee shop, drives to your house, and then there's
I don't
more.
know if she did, I don't know if she did a second or not, but maybe I really can't call that one if she did or not. I know I did because I was home and I wanted some more. So let's see.
Yeah, so you go back to your house, maybe there was some more cannabis oil. And you
guys definitely was. We walked around the land. I showed her as far as digging, as far as the tunnel.
Oh yeah, I was going to get into that. So according to Anjali's story, you told her that you knew there was an alien mountain base. There was aliens inside the mountain, so you dug a tunnel to reach the base. No. That's what she said that you relayed to her.
No, I haven't even started digging yet. I am digging 2 tunnels on my land, but I haven't even got a chance to start yet. But the only reason I'm doing that is because I feel like there's water. There's water in the mountain. That's all. It wasn't. I never claimed there was aliens in my mountain, ever. There were anyway.
So that contradicts a lot of her story. And you did tell me. You did tell me off air though that you were explaining to her that you were basically going to dig some tunnels and you were going to build like a wine cellar and like a man cave in there, right? Yeah. It wasn't about aliens. It was about building something into the mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Like
but you hadn't begun. You had not, and to this day you have not begun tunneling or digging anything, right?
Nope, haven't even.
So there's no tunnels on the mountain that you're aware of.
There's not a tunnel on this mountain.
Is there any caves or anything that you're aware of? No. Yeah. So that kind of contradicts a large part of the story.
Where she's claiming these are it's absolutely not. So,
so no tunnels, no caves that you're aware of, or entrances. And someone also suggested that there could be some kind of a shed hiding an entrance into the tunnel or something. Are you aware of anything like that?
There's a shed in front of where I'm going to be digging. So that's what she's talking about. And that's where, and that was just a conversation anyway. So
yeah, but she took it and said that you had already dug the tunnel into the mountain, that you met the aliens, that they take people and then they teleport them back into your house.
No, I never told her
any of that.
No. The conversation of me digging a hole. I mean, I didn't really even talk about that too much with people, because I didn't really want people to know what I was doing. But I mean, of course, if you're in a helicopter, you're going to see what I'm doing or whatever, the squirrels got great houses in the mountain. So I was kind of following the squirrels, it wasn't the aliens.
So you yourself have not had an alien experience at the mountain or inside the mountain, and you have never been teleported by the aliens or none of that.
No, it'd be cool though. It would be pretty cool if I.
Yeah, and just to be clear though, you have a bit of an interest in UFOs and aliens, right? That's why you were talking. Yeah, okay.
Oh, for sure, aliens, they exist for sure. I mean, I believe they live here now. You know what I mean? There's no doubt in my mind that they live underground,
yeah, but you haven't seen them in your mountain.
No.
Or dug a tunnel to them or communicated with any of the aliens. So explain for me when she was at your home, because she tends to say basically that, she kind of took a hike to the tunnel with you and another couple. And then you all went in the tunnel and then this is where she meets the aliens, and none of that happened.
Well, not in physical appearance here. I mean, if it happened in her experience, I mean that's her experience. I mean, I don't want to really take that away from her. If that's what she thinks happened, then that's cool. What a great story.
She did. She described it as a physical experience. She, you, and your wife and another couple went into the tunnel.
we don't remember any tunnel. We don't remember any part of that.
So what did happen? She just walked around the grounds around the
we,
mountain, like took a hike, and then that was it?
we all went. Okay, as far as the hike goes, it wasn't like a hike. It was just up my driveway to the upper level of what is cut. You follow me? Like what pads are cut, like where you can walk without hiking the mountain. We didn't hike. We never hiked any mountain. We walked up the driveway about another, I don't know, it's another 200 or 150 feet up. And we just went up and I just showed them that area. That's all. I mean, and if it was, to my knowledge, she wanted to see like more of the land or something, maybe. I can't even remember why we walked up there because it was unusual that I walked up there on that day. So
so basically you guys were just hanging out and you were kind of showing her your
that's all. That's all
your land, right? You had a big chunk of land there, a nice chunk of land with the nice scenery and a mountain on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just showing her the mountain and the land and things like that.
Yeah, that's all. Just casual.
Could you estimate for me, like how long was she at your home in total, and how long was she walking around the grounds?
Well, let's see. We got back from the coffee shop probably about 2:00, maybe 3 or so. We weren't outside too long. We probably maybe in a couple hours, maybe before it started getting dark. Maybe I don't even remember. It was January, so yeah, it probably got dark around 4, and it was cold. So from that point, I can see us coming inside by the fire. And it was about that time though that I think that call. It was still light when the ambulance showed up and the sheriff showed up. It was.
Oh yeah. I was going to say, just to be clear, because we're trying to get to confirm or deny some bits of her story. We'll get to the ambulance. I have that on my list, but she claimed that you guys were all in the mountain, and then either her or you, I'm a little foggy on the story. It's been a little bit since I've reviewed it all. Either her or all of you were inside the mountain in this tunnel, and you were instantly teleported back to your home.
Well, I didn't have.
You don't recall that?
I didn't have that experience. We walked down. We walked right back down the same way we walked up and came in the house. And that she was on her phone. She was on her phone, and I didn't think much of it. I mean, a person has a phone call. You know what I mean? So next thing you know, there's a sheriff in my front yard, and there's an ambulance right with him. And
yeah, can you explain to us why would an ambulance show up for her at your home? But they did a wellness check of her, right?
It was a welfare check. So when I walked outside, I told the sheriff, I said, man, you got the wrong house. Again, because they've mixed up my address before.
Yeah, it happens, especially in rural areas. Yeah.
So I said, you got the wrong place, and he said, no, is Anjali here? And I was like, well, what the fuck is that? Well, yeah, I mean, what, who is this person? You know what I mean? Like I just brought this person to my house, and now there's a sheriff here, and now there's an ambulance here, Anyway, he didn't give me any information until he saw her, and then after he saw her and then the ambulance was checking her out. Then once she was in the ambulance, then the sheriff and I had we had talks and some laughs, actually. I straight up told him, I says, hey, so what's the deal here? I mean, what's up? And he said, well, somebody called in for a welfare check for her. I go, oh, okay. So, I mean, what's the problem? Are they thinking she's inebriated or something, or what? And he goes, well, I really don't know. And I go, well, whatever. He couldn't really, he didn't want to share the information with me, because I guess you can't, because it's investigation stuff or whatever. And so,
yeah, and I think I've heard her explain maybe that her daughter called.
Yeah,
because she was concerned about her, couldn't reach her on the phone. So she called the local authorities to do a wellness check. And
Right.
what goes on for a wellness check? They just the paramedics just checked her out, like checked her
Yeah,
vitals and
yeah.
asked her if she was okay, or
She was in the paramedics for about probably, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, 15 minutes. And me and the sheriff, we were laughing. I said, hey, man, I overdosed her with cannabis oil. That's all that's going on here. You know what I mean? She's probably took way too much.
You told the sheriff? You must have a good sheriff.
Oh, yeah. He was laughing his ass off, man. We were joking about it, you know?
Yeah, let's get back to the cannabis oil. So, my original hypothesis is that she took some kind of drugs, and that led to her having this strange experience that she related to aliens somehow, and meeting a purple being, which is very, very similar to a description that many people give of a DMT experience. How strong is this stuff? And does it really, really hit you that hard that you could maybe have some kind of a just out of it experience and somehow interpret it as aliens?
Well, I've eaten this stuff by the spoonfuls, and I haven't yet seen an alien yet. I mean, I'm maybe if it's mixed with something, perhaps. I'm not saying that somebody else can't. You know, maybe it affects people in a different way. You know.
Yeah, but I have done a little bit of research and checked in with a few friends who are frequent users, and there's a certain kind, I can't recall it off the top of my head, that somebody recounted to me could definitely knock you on your butt and make you feel like you're out of your own body, and a few other strange effects.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean,
did she after this wellness check, did she recount, did she talk about aliens or being in the tunnel with the aliens or any of that kind of stuff? So she didn't even mention the aliens to you. You didn't talk about it.
The ambulance let her out. She came right back in the house. The sheriff took off. She called for a ride from her male friend. He came back and picked her up about 11:30 that night. She left her car here because she couldn't drive her car. So she came back the next day and got her car about noon.
So she was impaired enough to know that she couldn't drive.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and so so the next day she comes back to get her car. Does she tell you about talk about the alien experience that she had or anything like that? Nothing.
We knew nothing about any aliens until just last August.
Yeah, and I guess we could pick up the story there, because apparently she doesn't really talk to you guys for several years. And then
about 3 years. Yeah, about 3
what happens? She starts contacting you, telling you about her alien experience and wanting to bring people there. And take us through that, because that's important.
My wife was informing me that this lady was trying to get a hold of me, and I honestly didn't remember who she was. You know, I was like, well, who? She goes, you know, the lady that was here that worked for the Department of Defense and you know, had the experience here, you know, the ambulance and all that, you know, and anyway, I said, oh, well, gosh, what would she want? You know, I mean, what can she possibly want? It's been years. What the heck?
Yeah. You haven't heard from her in a long time, right?
Right. Yeah. Years. And then all of a sudden now you have to know, we met this person one day at a coffee shop. I brought her home, you know, we all hung out for, you know, a few hours or whatever. And then that happened. The next day when she picked up her car, we never spoke again. We didn't keep in touch or anything. It was one of those. So,
so then she starts contacting you 3 years later.
She's contacting us, and my wife is informing me that she wants to talk to me. And I was like a little hesitant and reluctant, and I didn't really know what to think about it or whatever. Anyway, when she, you know, finally said something that sparked an interest, like, you know, I want to talk to you about, you know, how your husband and I walked up the mountain together after you went to bed. You know, that, of course, now my wife wants to know what this woman has to say. Right. So that was a manipulative kind of move there, you know, because her and I never walked together alone up in the mountain. So anyway, where was I at?
About her contacting you and what she wanted, right?
Yeah. So finally, I went ahead and reached out to her, and we had a talk. And we even had a Zoom. We had a couple Zoom calls, and whatever, FaceTime, or I think it was FaceTime we did. Talked, and she told me her story, and she told me what was going on, and of course, we're completely taken back. Like, whoa, like, wow, okay.
Yeah, because she's recounting an experience that she claims you all had together, and your recollection of the events is completely
not there.
Normal, right? I mean, it was just like a normal.
It was a normal day.
Normal day, normal night. No aliens, no UFOs. You didn't see anything strange or even talk about.
Nope, there wasn't
the experience
even anything that night. So.
Yeah. So when she
normal night.
When she contacts you, then at some point she starts telling you that she had this alien experience. There's aliens in your mountain, and she wants to bring a whole team of investigators, right? And I mean, how do you react to that? How did you react?
Well, at first, we were almost receptive. We were talking about it, like, okay, I was listening. When she was telling me, some of the way it was going to go down, then
were you open to the idea, or did you think? I'm sorry.
I was open for if she was going to pay me money to uproot my life and stop me from going to work and stuff like that. So, absolutely, sure. You want to come over and dig in my mountain and bring all your equipment over here? Well, somebody's writing a check.
That's very honest of you, but it's true, because I'm sure that you knew that this would turn into some kind of a media circus, maybe because of her defense intelligence background or whatever, right?
And that's what she gave us that threat too. I mean, there's been some threats here when we started saying no to this and started going the other way, when it wasn't going in a positive direction. Then she was using threats like, hey, I'm Intel. I work for the government. Who do you think you are? I'm not going away. Shit like that. We're coming whether you like it or not. Shit like that's got me pissed off. Where you're going to tell me what you're going to do on my land. Well, we're not going to do that, because there is nothing on this land. There's no tunnels on this land. So perhaps Anjali had her. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say she has not seen aliens or dealt with aliens or anything like that. Perhaps she has. She probably has. How about that? She probably has had these experiences, and they're coming out like this, and that's cool. Okay, that's whatever. Here's the thing: she can have her experiences, but they're not here on my land physically. They're not here.
Yeah,
and that's what everybody to understand.
But were you thinking like none of this happened, so why would she even want to dig here? Or what, did you talk to her and say none of this happened the way that you recall?
Yes,
and she just argued with you, right? That you didn't remember it, or
she's telling us we do not remember, and that the beings took our memories away, and now they're telling her that it's time for us to remember.
Wow.
That's what she's telling me and my wife, that we are now supposed to remember these things. So in other words, it's almost as if she's trying to manipulate our brains or something to believe her story and then go ahead and get on this show here and say, yeah, Steve, it's totally true. I got aliens in my mountain. I got tunnels.
Oh no, it's quite.
Would I do that? Well, I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, why would I do that?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but your version of the story is quite the letdown, obviously. And one point of clarification though, was she contacting you and doing these phone calls to you and Zoom calls before this big press conference she did at the Lincoln Memorial, or after that?
It was okay. So it was coming up to the week of the press conference, like the next week. Okay.
So she was trying to get you to agree.
we were not aware of this press conference whatsoever. I happened to give her a call when I finally called her, and it happened to be like, I don't know, a couple days before the conference.
Mm-hmm.
She sugarcoated that conference. She was basically just saying, well, I'm going to go to Washington, and I had an experience at your house, and I'm going to go share my story, and I've been writing about it for 3 years, and I haven't told you anything, but now I'm ready to tell you, but I'm just letting you know that I'm going to go do this, and is it okay with you? And we're like, well, sure, I mean, knock yourself out, I guess. I didn't really. It was so shocking what she had to say. We really didn't know what to tell her. You know what I mean? Okay. So she never sent us the link to the conference. She never sent us the information so we can watch the conference. We didn't get that information till like a week later.
Wow. And how did you feel knowing that she stood at the Lincoln Memorial and was telling this story about aliens at your house and involving you and your wife?
It was tripping us out, man. I mean, we had no idea it was going to
imagine
where it is now. Like we had we didn't know what to do. It actually freaked us out pretty well. How about that? It's been a stressful experience. How about that? This whole thing has been a bunch of stress that we haven't needed. I mean, we've never had cameras before. We got them now. There's other things I haven't had before on this mountain that's on this mountain now,
So you have to worry about your security
that's a bunch. Yeah, exactly. Security. Yeah. It's bullshit. So to get everybody vamped up how about this? If you want to do this, Anjali, this is what I got to say to you. If you really want to do this and you really want to bring your people here, then get that checkbook out. Go ahead and buy the land. The starting bid is $10 million. I already told you that. And write a check, and you can go dig all you want up here. Straight up.
I think that's a very fair way to do it. Just have her buy the mountain, right?
Very simple.
After you got wind of the press conference, did you and your wife started sort of checking around? Were you shocked by the internet? By all the stories on the internet and the views that her stories were getting, and her following that was getting really big based on all these stories.
Yeah, all the shit talk. Yeah, that's what was really starting to stress us out. Yeah, people saying they're going to come and do it anyway, and come take our, do what they want anyway, shit like that. So yeah, it was definitely scary, and it still is.
And there was one filmmaker who, again, back to the wrong Wayne. We can get into that situation, but somebody threatened to just fly drones over Brian's mountain, but they had the wrong location, thankfully. But people were, just so I want to make sure that we're very clear on this point. Believers of Anjali or critics and cynics who wanted to prove her stories were fake were threatening to just go on to Brian's land or find Brian's mountain and find the tunnel. Believers wanted to go and find the tunnel and find the alien. And I think that this is very dangerous because you never know what, hopefully somebody, maybe they're just a little obsessed with aliens and they're not thinking right. But you never know the mindset of somebody that's willing to trespass on somebody else's land or go digging around somebody's basically backyard. Almost, it's like this thing is in his backyard, basically.
It is
got a huge backyard. Lucky guy, he's got a big plot of land there. But the fact that there was all these people on the internet saying, she said, we're doing the expedition. Then she started saying you wouldn't allow the expedition. So then she's saying we're going to do it anyway, or we're going to find a way to do it anyway. And can you talk for a little more about, did she, you mentioned that she basically threatened you, that she worked for the government and all these things. So she was trying to twist your arm into her will to do this expedition, right?
Basically, when it wasn't working out, when we were pulling back on even thinking about it, that's when she started. That's when the more negative words were coming out,
Yeah. And so she has the press conference, and then does she continue to pressure you to do this after the press conference? She continues to contact you, telling you that she's going to do this expedition. And how did you and your wife feel about that? I mean, I heard you say, well, pay us, but
yeah, right. Pay us. I basically said, because I didn't really want to deal with all the stress of, what are you doing to my land? I like the land just the way it is, what kind of energy is coming to my land, stuff like that. We're real protective about who we have around us, So it was all really a lot to think about. So we just decided, well, how about this? How about just a bag of money? And then we just leave it. You guys can have it, and then we'll just go fishing somewhere. Maybe we'll just move to Florida or something, and you can have this cool mountain. And if everything is true of what she says, then she should be able to make billions with Bigelow or Elon or,
whoever else, right?
If she's so sure about it, then buy it and have at it.
Maybe the Skinwalker Ranch owner would be interested. Who knows, right?
Oh, hey, you never know. It might be here. It might be here.
And so after the press conference and her trying to twist your arm, you guys basically said no, according to her, that you're not coming here. Yeah. Right.
Not without the deal that I just put on the table. You pay us money, we leave, you dig. That's it.
And then you guys started actively sort of following what she was saying on the internet. That had to be frustrating for you, knowing that most of her story didn't happen the way she described, but she was going on shows and, getting all this attention, and
it was pissing us off listening to the lies, and the changing of the story. I mean, not only was it not true, but I mean, she was changing the story too. So there was some things that she was not remembering what she was saying to people, evidently, because we've been following this pretty closely from the sidelines, of course.
Now, this is a personal question, and and I understand if maybe you just want to keep things private, but it is kind of pertinent to her story. Lady Vimana mentions this, and thanks for her kindness. She says at the beginning of the interview, Brian said that he'd beaten cancer. Yet Anjali told us, and this was a recurring theme for her, Brian, just so that you know, that we were stressing you out. Everybody questioning her story was stressing you out and making your cancer worse with our questions. So people are very curious, is your recovery recent, or was Anjali lying to guilt us and stop us from trying to contact you? Or
I have been fighting cancer since 2013, and I'm still fighting cancer. It started out stage 4 lymphoma and thyroid. I don't know if you can. There's a scar.
I can solo you there. Yeah, so you had some surgeries to remove the lymph nodes and things?
The surgery was actually above my heart, on my aortic bridge. That's what it started. I didn't even really know about all the lymph nodes and the thyroid. So I don't even know. Last I checked, I was about a stage 2, stage 1 area. So
well, that's progress at least, right?
Yeah. I'm in treatment. I'm still in treatment every week, and so I got a test coming up here shortly to see if things are moving in the right direction on that. So yes, cancer never went away. I'm still fighting a lot on it, and and it takes a lot to do that. It takes a lot.
And I'm hesitant to mention this, but I have to voice this concern of mine. One might question the integrity or the ethics of somebody who would involve somebody that's fighting cancer in a story like this, because obviously she has to know this is going to bring some kind of stress and anxiety on you that you really don't need right now, right? You should be focused on your recovery.
We asked her nicely. My wife asked her nicely. We said, look, it's not the time, and it wasn't the time. It's just not the time. I got too much shit going on right now, and I got way too much treatment going on to be gone doing treatment while people are on my land without me here. That's not going to happen, unless you just go ahead and buy it.
Well,
Again,
just for any rich people out there who want to buy a mountain that may have aliens in it, it's $10
well,
million
it may have,
dollars, right?
it may. Well, that's the starting. That's the starting number. I'd like to see the bidding war go a little higher than that.
Yeah, God bless you. So, so we get to the yeah. There's been a lot of back and forth about we were stressing you out. I think it's her causing the stress, not people asking questions about her story on the internet or trying. Were you aware that all these people on the internet? It was like, I don't know if you saw that documentary, like Don't Mess with Cats, but like it was almost like that. Like a whole team of people got together on the internet and decided that this story was interesting and we want to hear from Wayne. So the whole teams of people, like a whole bunch of different researchers, all started doing this detective work, trying to find you. I called all these construction companies looking
That's
for a guy
scary.
that owned a mountain. I can't tell you how many dudes hung up on me. Like, what? I don't have time for this shit. What? Aliens? No, I don't own a mountain with aliens. Click. But people were able to find. She threw us off the trail because she said, well, I changed Trisha's name to something else, but I didn't change Wayne's name. So we found a guy who was named Wayne, who owned a construction company, and we could look at the satellite maps and see a mountain right behind his home. We were convinced that was the guy. She lied and said, yes, that's the guy, claiming that she was trying to just protect you, the real guy. Were you aware that there was like a whole bunch of researchers all over the internet looking for you?
Yeah, we were shitting our pants.
I'm sorry if I put any stress on you because I was one of those idiots out there looking for you.
We weren't really mad at you. I mean, how are we going to be mad at thousands of people when one person is doing this? You know?
Yeah. And I have to tell you, it's a little bit surreal getting to talk to you in person because in my mind, I go through this journey I've been on this whole story of me spending a week on the phone calling all these construction companies. I was looking over satellite maps. Then I started going to public information sites like, okay, who owns this land where this mountain is? Does he own a construction company? There's this whole journey to try to get to you. And it's a little bit surreal to me that a few months later, here you are. And also, this kind of humanized part of the story, because at first I thought you were her imaginary friends and she just made you two up, because you were anonymous and the story seems pretty crazy and outlandish. But now having spoken to you and heard parts of your side of the story, it humanizes it a bit more to me because people need to remember when these stories start that these are real people, with real lives. And, Brian's got a wife and children and a job and health concerns right now. So it's just odd to me that she would sort of blame us because we went to find you. But she dropped up, didn't you feel she dropped an awful lot of breadcrumbs along the way?
She was dropping so many breadcrumbs. That was pissing us off too. And I mean, that her and I had talks about that. I said, well, you're pretty much giving it up where we are and who we are. I mean, it wasn't hard to find out after all those breadcrumbs, So anyway, it is what it is. Here, this is who I am, and here we are, and we're gonna lay everything out on the table here and just be truth about it. Because I like, truth. We're on truth seekers. I like truth seekers.
Thank you, Brian. And I appreciate that Brian actually, off air, he told me we have to be careful because I don't want to beat her up or
no, absolutely
vindictive or he was very clear with me that we have to be respectful to her, which I really respect because he could have come here all guns blazing, cursing her out for causing his family all this stress.
No, I wish her the best. Good luck with your journey. I think it's an amazing story. I believe that she has amazing experiences from her career. She must. I mean, that's all I really can say about that. I mean, she's probably had an amazing career in the military.
Yeah, and when you met her, did she talk to you about working for the Defense Intelligence Agency and all that stuff, or
very little, not too much? We just knew she did, but she did mention that she worked there, and that was about it. Worked for the Department of Defense, and we knew that she wasn't lying. I mean, she had stickers all up and down her windshield, a lot of them. So
yeah, I have to tell you the truth. When she first came out with her story, I said, this woman's fake. She never worked for the military. She never worked. This is because most of the time, just so you're aware, a lot of times people come out with these fantastical stories and they make all these claims about where they worked or their education. And it turns out most of the stuff is fabricated. And so I was kind of shocked when I started digging in and going, oh, she really was in the Air Force. Oh, she really did work for the Defense Intelligence Agency. Not once, but twice, once as a contractor and once as a direct employee. So then I got more interested in the story because why is this woman that worked for these government agencies suddenly talking about all these aliens, right?
mm-hmm. I mean, maybe a lot of her, I mean, I think she's had experiences to the point where
she believes those experiences, right?
Yes, but but it's said that these beings have the ability to take away your memory and all that. Have you heard about anything like that?
Sure, and missing time, sure.
Yeah, and missing time and stuff. So, if she got to have that experience here, that's amazing. But again, we're not digging.
We know that brings me to another one of my questions, because at any point did you sort of second guess yourself and go looking more on that mountain, or sit out there at night looking for spaceships landing or anything?
No, I'm not going to do all that. I've been up on this mountain a lot of years, so I know pretty much every rock up here. So the only thing I thought was maybe maybe we were stopped in time and she wasn't. That's the only thing I was thinking, because you hear other stories. You hear other stories of, people being abducted and, they didn't get to remember anything, So that's the only thing I was thinking. It would be something like that with her mind, that she got in her mind only, we didn't get anything. We didn't lose any time on our end,
Not that you're aware of.
Aware of, exactly right.
Yeah, just to play devil's advocate here. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows, right? I mean, that's the only. But as far as physical tunnels in my backyard, they're not there. So if they're in her mind, then they're there. Because she has a pretty descriptive story about my tunnels and my tools and my equipment.
Yes, she's very imaginative, and to her credit, she's a writer. She's written fiction books. You have to be imaginative to do that.
This could be another one.
Yeah, it's quite possible. There was a push. People in the UFO community near her, close to her, were sort of pushing her to write a book and make a documentary. And I believe she had plans to do that at the beginning of this, but then she got a lot of flack for trying to cash in on the story, and she's just trying to cash in. So then she canceled those plans for a documentary and a book. And so it appears then the motive is not money, which is, again, makes her a bit of a unicorn, because she claims she doesn't want money from the story.
Well, I wouldn't claim that at this point. She's got a lot of attention on this story, so I mean, look, she brought Wayne out of the tunnel.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is very surreal. That this is, when I heard that I was actually going to get to talk to you, and then and I have to say, Brian, I got to talk to Brian on the phone, and I said, look, I don't know how to ask you this, but people really want to hear your side of the story. Is there any way on earth you would do an interview? And he said, let me think about it. Yes, whenever you want to do it. And I was like, great, because people want to hear your side of what happened that night. It's a great story, but if this story only happened in her own mind, it's a lot less compelling to me. And again, I agree with you. I believe she believes she had this strange experience and met these several different races of aliens. Oh, that's the other thing. Were you surprised at the level of detail of her story and how, she met human-looking aliens, and some of them were gray aliens, and then there was the mantis alien? And were you surprised at the detail?
See, that's what I am surprised at that detail. And it also, that's what makes me think that she's had a lot of experiences in her career. That,
Yeah, maybe.
that maybe she's seen these things that, in her life, and maybe she saw them again here. I don't know. She claims that she's had other experiences in her life when she was younger. I mean, she does have other stories here. So why this one is the big one? It really blows.
Well, I think maybe because that's where the story begins for many people. That's what they first hear from her. But like many of these people, it seems that her story has evolved through a little bit of time. And now I believe, I think that she claims that she has conscious contact, what she calls conscious contact with the aliens, which is sort of telepathic contact, but a little deeper than that because it involves emotions. And she claims she has that every day, which I have a little bit of a problem with, because just recently she posted some very fake looking UFO photos. And my question is always, why didn't the aliens that you talk to every day tell you those are fake photos? Don't tweet those out, because it could embarrass you or whatever. I don't understand, if she's talking to aliens every day, why they wouldn't warn her against certain things, I suppose.
Well, that'd be my question too.
And somebody else asked, if she's in such close contact with the aliens, why wouldn't she ask the aliens to heal you, Brian, as a favor? After all, they're living in your mountain. The least they could do is,
what the hell, man? Yeah, right.
Do you a solid there, right?
Yeah, do me a solid, man. I'm tired of IVs.
Yeah, that's never fun. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad for your progress, certainly.
Oh, it's cool, man. It's not that bad, actually. It's been an amazing journey. It's been a hard one and a good one at the same time, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I'm grateful for it all.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about there was this. You first contacted Charlie Weiser. That's why you're here. Can you talk a little bit about that and why you decided, I'm just going to go public? Because that's an important part of the story. Your flowers here. I'll give you the solo layout there. Purple lavender, right?
These represent Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie's another mysterious character here. So why did you
give you some purple flowers from the desert?
After everybody was trying to find you for so long, why is it that you decided to out yourself?
Because number one, it was already getting out there. We were figuring out that people were figuring it out. Number two, we saw something that was some kind of lawsuit that was against Charlie Weiser, and we were being listed as people in this lawsuit, evidently.
Yeah. So you decided to contact Charlie.
That was by Anjali. So it just pissed me off. You're not gonna. That was over the top right there. So I decided to reach out to Charlie Weiser to personally tell her that we have nothing to do with this. And of course, the trust to figure out that we're who we are, and that we had to go through that motion a little bit too, just to make sure we are who we are.
Yeah, but that can be confirmed by the 911 call, and also Anjali has confirmed that you are the correct, quote, Wayne, unquote, that she was referencing. She's admitted that on Twitter publicly. By the way, wished you well for the interview, and I guess
thank you for that. And like I said, I'm not here to bash her. I'm not here to bash her. I'm just here basically to protect us.
And tell your side of this story, because obviously there's two sides of it, and her side is a very fantastical story. But when we realized that she involved you and claimed that you and your wife and another couple were also in this mountain, it kind of, the story takes on a different meaning when we pull away these so-called witnesses that dispute her telling of the events. I would assume it kind of pokes an awful lot of holes in the story now.
Well, I would think, I'm sure there's other mountains that there's tunnels in, and there's other as far as I'm concerned, these beings live under the earth anyway. They're all underneath us, and over us, and in the sea, in the snow, in the ice.
Could be.
Well, I mean, maybe they even live in the sun,
Yeah, anything's possible. Sure. So I guess getting back to, so you come out to Charlie Weiser, and then that brings you to me. Didn't you think that it was kind of ridiculous? Because I don't know if you know this, but Charlie Weiser is in Australia. So Anjali threatening to sue Charlie Weiser, who, by the way, is a researcher and very, very critical of Anjali. For anybody that doesn't know, she runs a blog and sort of picks apart everything that Anjali has said and shows inconsistencies in her story. But didn't you think it was kind of ridiculous or improbable that she's actually going to sue her? Because she would have to go to Australia to sue somebody in Australia, and she's American, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, but I didn't even think about it like that, because if somebody wants to sue somebody and if they have some money, all you got to do is just call a lawyer in that country, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, that's why there's lawyers and legal workers, so, and, I wasn't having that shit. That's all.
Yeah, because apparently she was going to use you guys as witnesses or something to sue Charlie Weiser. Is that the gist of it?
That's what I was getting out of it. So we just went ahead and put a stop to that, and here we are.
And you communicated to Charlie Weiser that you wouldn't be a part of that, right?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And have you and your wife you were following Charlie Weiser's blog about some of this information coming out and some other shows and things like that?
We've been following everybody. Everybody.
Oh, that had to be quite surreal, right?
People on both sides, just watching everything. Mostly my wife. She reads a lot faster than I do. So, if something critical if she saw something critical, she'd let me know. Hey, look at this, or look at this, look at that, and it's like, wow, this is crazy, So yeah, we were trying to brush it off. We went through a stressful period, where it was just real stressful. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to think. It was definitely making us lose sleep. Then there for a while, we thought that this was just going to go away, because, Anjali was posting, more of guru stuff, kind of veering attention away from this. And I thought it was done.
Were you and your wife surprised at the amount of attention this story got? Because, there's thousands of Reddit posts, thousands of Twitter posts. There's podcasts talking about this. There's shows, mine and others talking about this or hosting her, talking about it.
It's crazy. It's nuts. I think it's amazing. How about that? It's amazing.
It is a little bit amazing. Yeah.
I mean, it is. I mean, she's got a lot of people on this story, but I mean, in order to back this up, well, she knows what needs to be done.
And did you find it surprising that the story got this much attention, given that she had just her story and no real physical evidence or corroborating witnesses that would,
I'm sorry, say it again.
Did you find it surprising that this story got this much attention, given that it was just her story? She didn't have evidence. She didn't have corroborating witnesses that would come forward to confirm what she was saying was true. I found it surprising. That's why I was wondering what you thought of it.
It was very surprising because, I mean, we were basically going off of what she said, and this is the way it is, and you just don't remember. That's what.
And Lady Vimana, a kind and generous super chatter, is asking, completely aside from Anjali's situation, has Brian ever seen a UFO on his land or elsewhere? Because you obviously have some interest in this subject.
Nothing other than what you see in the skies, fast moving objects that you can, say, hey, was that? I mean, that's about the extent of what I've ever seen.
Wow.
I'd love to. I haven't seen anything on my land. But as far as this, I mean, the desert sky, how many people have seen a fast object in the desert sky or any sky for that matter?
Yeah, I see lights in the sky, but I'm not never that excited by just a light in the sky,
Right. And that's why I never really made no stink of it. I mean, how do you know really what you saw? Number one, I mean, run out there and say, God dang it, this is what it is. That's what it is. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, you know, I really don't know. How about that? To answer that question, I don't know if I have or not. I hope.
And, you know,
I hope so.
the devil, Brian, they say, is in the details. And I'm very interested in the fact that people are very, very interested in the minutia of parts of her story. And one part of her story is that after her alien experience, she was teleported back to a place in your home where there's a big archway, and that you said that's where the aliens teleport us back to. Is there an archway like that in your home? But you said, have you ever felt like you were teleported in or out of your home? Is there that archway? People are very focused on this archway because she made a big deal of this archway in your home.
Well, it's not an archway. It's just a door. It's a doorway that goes from one side of the house to the other side of the house. That's it. And I guess you could call it a hallway if that's what you want to call it. It's you immediately step into another room. It used to be a hallway, I guess, before I ripped all the walls out. There's no real walls there now. So, but no, it's not an arch. It's just a doorway, a regular door, 32 or 36-inch doorway with a barn door on it.
That's interesting. And people are but she really went into detail about there being this real distinctive archway. I guess that wasn't accurate then, or she remembered it wrong, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. This is her experience. You know, this is what she experienced. So as far as the physical aspect of this story, the archway is square and there's no tunnels.
Okay. And just to play the devil's advocate, I wanted to ask you, have you experienced any strange or paranormal activity in or around your home, the mountain, missing time, or anything like that?
I wouldn't say missing time or paranormal things like that, but you can definitely feel an energy here. There's definitely an energy here.
Well, that's interesting. Maybe she felt it more than you.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
But there's energy in a lot of places, you know. So, I mean, I go hiking and there's energy. So, I mean, am I being, I mean, is that being too silly by saying that? I mean, anywhere has energy, you know what I mean? Just not just my yard and my mountain. I mean, I do feel good here. There is peace here. There is something here.
Well, that's good. That's good. Good healing place.
Yeah, like a healing place. Exactly.
Elite guy breaking up the seriousness, asking if you like bacon.
Oh yeah, I like bacon.
I don't know what Elite guy is always posting bacon. He's a longtime show supporter.
Tell him as long as it's from the pig that I raised, and I know where my bacon comes from. How about that?
So where do you see this story going next? Because I'm a little worried that I thought several times during this story that the story would fall apart and end. The first time that I thought it would end is when there would be no expedition, because she really hyped up this expedition and we're going to bring you the proof of the aliens. And then that fell apart and I thought the story would end. But you're right. She sort of went into sort of guru mode and started talking about more general things that the aliens, she claims she's in telepathic contact with, are telling her. And then I thought you coming out might be the end of the story. But I'm a little concerned that she's going to, it'll be like he said, she said, you know, she'll maybe try to excuse away your recollection of events or.
Well, that's fine. She can go ahead and do that. But again, I wasn't the one in an ambulance getting checked out for, you know, I don't know why, you know, why was she was inebriated. She was not sober here. So I think most of us were more sober than her.
Wow. And that's the other thing I wanted to ask you. Are you aware that she took anything other than what you had given her?
Nope. Not unless
you didn't see her.
Her purse. I don't even know if she was drinking alcohol. I don't even think she was drinking. But I can't recollect.
But she had claimed in an interview with me that she was completely and totally sober during this event. You would dispute that?
Absolutely, I'll dispute that. My oil does not. You're not sober on that oil, and it. I mean, it puts you in a good place. How about that? And
Pretty potent,
obviously,
yeah.
it put her in a really good place. That's how I see it. So, I mean, if again, I'm still open. I'm open to, I had a friend of mine that was drunk. He was real drunk, or an old friend, an acquaintance, anyway. But he died when he was drunk, like wasted. He said he was completely inebriated, and he had an accident, and he drowned, and he died, and he had the most amazing near-death experience. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, we could be inebriated on this side and have an experience on that side that's completely different. So perhaps something like that happened with her. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? All I know is we didn't get to know anything about this until recently. So
yeah.
We didn't know anything about it when it happened. We had no clue of none of this was even talked about. So perhaps she had an experience, 3 years later or 2 years later, and this is what came in her mind,
Yeah.
I need plug me in, please. Yeah.
And did you watch her press release that she did at the Lincoln Memorial?
We didn't get the link to it till a week after, so we watched it a week after.
And were you surprised at the attention that got?
Oh, of course, we were totally surprised. And we couldn't believe we just couldn't. We were completely taken back.
I wanted to check and see what kind of, as I recall, that got a huge number of views. Yeah, 60,000 views that got.
60,000 views. Wow.
60,000 views.
Yeah. And she's believable. She's intelligent. She talks intelligent. She's nice.
Connor Brady sent a kind and generous donation and says, "Can we keep Brian and get rid of her?" Yeah.
But that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I try to be kind and respectful towards her because I don't wish her any ill will, and I like the story, but I didn't believe it was really true from the beginning, and I got a lot of flack for even covering this story. But my interest was that I was wrong, and I put my mouth in gear before I had facts in hand. I said her background's probably fake. She didn't work there. And then I started digging in and found out that I was wrong about her education and her background and her work history. And but people really are a little vicious towards her. I don't know if you're aware, but there's like memes on the internet of like UFO Twitter throwing her out of a car. Some people don't take what they believe to be her fabricating this story very kindly. And they've been a little nasty towards her.
Well, they should all chill out a little bit. There's no reason to be nasty to anybody. Perhaps she's created that, though. As far as why people are pissed off. I've seen her go back and forth on some things. I've seen her not be honest with you. Everybody saw that. I think that kind of discredited her there when you were lied to. I think that was a turning point.
Yeah, but I suppose that her justification for doing so in protecting you, if you're going to have to lie, maybe that's a good justification. And Steve K is asking, when did it become clear that you, Brian, had become Wayne? When did you first hear her talking about Trisha and Wayne and connect the dots and say
she told us she told us that she changed our names at Wayne and Trisha before she was going to Washington.
Wow.
But we didn't know what really was going on in Washington. She just said she was going to go share her story. We didn't know the extent of this story. We didn't know this story. She just told us her experience, but it wasn't, we didn't get all the details like she gave at the press conference when we talked the one time before that conference.
Interesting. And I guess it had to feel like you definitely felt a little threatened by her because she's saying, I work for the government and we're going to do this expedition one way or the other.
Yeah, we still feel threatened. Actually, we're still on guard.
But are you threatened by her, or do you feel threatened by what chaos and circus she might bring to your home?
Exactly. Or both. All the above. Not so much her. I don't think she has any ill will. I think that some of her fans may, because of some of the comments that we have read out there towards us, which I'm not digging. So, if anything, go ahead.
There's a funny part to her story in that she said, and of course she's very, I suppose, politically correct, and said that we shouldn't call the aliens because they don't like that.
Okay.
So apparently aliens don't hate that we call them aliens, right?
Oh, I have no idea. Well, shit. What do we call them then?
Yeah,
we call them. We can be the aliens. Maybe we're the aliens. Maybe we're the scientific research here.
Yeah. So I don't know where we go from here. What are your plans for the future concerning this story? Because today is a big thing for you to come out in public and say, this is who I really am. This is what really happened. This is my recollection of events. But what's next? Because unfortunately, Brian, that true believers are already saying things like maybe the men in black got to you and, threatened you to not talk about the aliens, or you got paid off by somebody, or They do these mental gymnastics because they love the story so much and they don't want to see it fall apart. But what's next for you and your wife? You're just
I don't know. Go on with life. I hope. I don't know. Maybe we'll just start digging in the mountain after all, and maybe I'll run into something, and then I'll start making.
Call the History Channel. Get a TV show going.
Now
right?
I'm digging. Now I am going to dig in the damn mountain. Now the whole time I'm digging, I'm going to. I'm not just going to be looking for water. I'm going to hope I'm not going to hit one of these guys.
You mentioned your children. What did your children think? Because you had to share this story with them. Like, what did your children think when they started seeing their dad had an alien mountain and their mom met aliens, and the stories all over the internet? Like, what did your children say or think?
Well, I got three grown daughters, and one of them has nothing to say. The other one doesn't really know what to say, and the other one is throwing a full-on watch party right now with all her girlfriends.
Well, greetings and salutations, Brian's daughters. Good to have you viewing here.
Yeah, I wish I can see what's going on out there. I guess they got T-shirts made, and they're dressed up in lavy suits and purple lavy suits with alien piss and for drinks. They took Mountain Dew bottles, I guess, and changed the labels and. Anyway,
and before I forget, I want to make sure that I remind people, because we've got a lot of new viewers, maybe first-time viewers here, that if you enjoy these kind of strange stories about the world of aliens, UFOs, the paranormal, please do like and share this video, and make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell, and then you'll know every time we do a live show. And you're welcome here to come to our live chat. We have so many people in our live chat are asking questions. So I wanted to ask you if you'd be okay with taking some questions from the live chatters. Sure. All right. So friends, here's your chance. It's not just me that gets to take this journey. You get to take it with us. Questions for Brian. Put your questions in all capital letters. You guys know I'm a little bit visually impaired. So when you put it in all capital letters, I know right away that's a question for our guest tonight, and he'd be happy to answer some of your questions. The Sixth Sense is here reminding everybody about our Facebook page. One second. So I saw questions before. Kathy Knight, I see you. I definitely see you. Mr. Catfish says harness alien piss for drinking. Good idea. That I don't really know. So questions for Brian, put them in all capital letters. D Rock says sounds like Brian has the UFO version of Oak Island. Yeah, that's been going for like 7 seasons, and all they found was one single Spanish coin. So maybe there's something in that mountain you could cash in on this, right? Definitely cash in on this.
I hate to disappoint everybody on that.
All right, 1 second here. So, okay, good. We do have some questions here. Joe says, can I come and live on your land? I need some peace. I think nutters like you, Joe, is who he's trying to avoid here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe.
Somebody's asking if you slept with female aliens. That's a little intimate.
Yeah, to my knowledge, I really can't even answer that either. I mean, who knows?
Well, I've slept with some strange women. For all I know, some of them were aliens, right?
That's exactly what I'm getting at. You know.
Paul Cargo, this is a good question. A lot of people have been very critical of this story. And I remember when the story broke, a lot of people were saying, this story's got to be fake because who takes a perfect stranger home after just meeting them in a coffee? So why did you take home a perfect stranger?
I do things like that sometimes. I don't know. I don't do that anymore. How about that?
It makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But there, I felt safe with that. That's all. We're right down the street from this place. It doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen anymore. How about that? But there for a minute, I was just feeling friendly, I suppose.
Toady UK with a great question because Anjali had mentioned that you're very qualified to dig tunnels and mountains because you have all these tools. So Toady UK is asking, does Brian have secret covert digging equipment and hidden tools?
Nope. I got a pick, a shovel. That's about it. Digging bars. We got maybe some jackhammers, I suppose, if I really want to. We do have a construction company, so we got cool stuff.
Yeah, I have a friend at my cabin that has a bobcat and a lot of cool, fun toys. I envy him, because when you have those kind of toys, you can do amazing things. Like instead of spreading 2 tons of gravel by hand, you can do it in 5 minutes with a bobcat.
5 minutes. 5 minutes. Yeah. A hydraulic shovel, I call it. I like the hydraulic shovels.
Yeah, and Indiana is asking, when did Brian and Anjali's takes start to diverge? Was it from when you all returned to Brian's house? So her story is accurate and correct according to you until we get to the aliens, right? It's just that's where the divergence happens.
Yeah,
she's right about meeting you at the coffee house, talking, and then coming back to your home, but then things get different, right?
The only thing that got different about it is the ambulance came and stuff, and that kind of definitely changed the energy, So I guess that was when everybody's all buzzed up and, next thing you know, you got a sheriff here and an ambulance here on this stranger that we just brought home. I guess that would be where the diverge started, maybe with some people here.
Spooky Morales is asking, did Anjali ever have time on Brian's property alone?
No. Answer is no.
Lord Ludicrous Plaid says, does Brian have any neighbors? And if so, what do they all think of this? Are they aware?
We don't really have, we have like one neighbor, but we have big parcels. So we're pretty far apart, and no, nobody was aware of any of this because we don't really see each other. Can't really see our places.
I think wealthy is a relative term, but William K is asking, is Brian wealthy? I'm sure Anjali claimed he was very rich.
No, I'm not wealthy. I'm wealthy in spirit, not in money.
Yeah, I think that's he's kind of answered, you've kind of answered this, but hello, all in all, Brian, do you think that she had a paranormal or ET experience?
All in all, she's so convinced that I wish I would have saw it. So I really don't know what to say with that. I don't think she did, but who am I to say that?
is for her mind, you know. So all in all, I really don't know, but I would have to say if she did, that's great. Um, if she didn't, then this is all should be squashed now, right?
Scott Brown is asking Brian, what did Anjali's boyfriend think of the false story?
I don't know. The dude, he didn't come up here. He from the coffee shop, he took off. And when he came to pick her up, there was no words exchanged. She just got in his car and they took off. And then the next day, when they came back to get her car, that's all they did. I mean, they pulled up, she got in her car and they took off. And it was high and by. No, there was no conversation. I didn't even meet the guy. I don't even think I didn't even shake his hand or anything. I didn't even know his name. So I don't know what he thought.
Hutch wants to know if you could start your own UFO cult so he can join that one instead of hers.
No.
But you're the guy with the mountain, man. You can cash in. You could, have sky watches and right.
We'll talk about tours after here. We'll talk about some tours maybe here shortly. Let us get some tunnels dug first.
Amy Collins has got an interesting question. She says, "What is Brian's pedigree as far as other paranormal, New Age, or UFO ET stories he has read or followed? Have you been a fan of some of this stuff?"
Just Ancient Aliens, I guess. I'm a big fan of Ancient Aliens, and I watch that all the time, and any other show that I can find, I guess. And
interesting.
Books.
And M. Books. Kelly, oh, this is a good question, I guess. Have you considered any legal action against Anjali?
Well, we've talked to a couple lawyers about some things, so we don't know. We're definitely talking about it.
Interesting. And B. Baker's asking, did this strange behavior from Anjali and the UFO community surprise you?
Yes, absolutely. As far as the UFO community, well, you can't be surprised with that because they're just listening and following somebody's story. So, I mean, of course, people are going to be on that story. So, but as far as the strange behavior from Anjali, yes. I wish I can help her.
I'm sorry, I'm scanning the
no problem.
People are asking some questions. Let me see if we get a few more here. Do you read any UFO books? Rugged Sources asked.
I have some, but I haven't got to them yet. So they're on the shelf.
That's interesting. Like maybe I ought to read up on this now that I'm the alien messiah here, and I'm the guy with the mountain, right? With the aliens
get on
in it.
I'm gonna up my UFO life for sure.
Mike Gamboli, this is a weird question. Was the ambulance driver sheriff wearing lavender or smelled like lavender? Some people have recounted that maybe she was having some kind of a psychotic break or something, and her being in that ambulance is what caused some of this story, like that the aliens laid her on a table and put her out of her body, and they weren't wearing purple uniforms.
I didn't go in the ambulance, so I didn't see who was in there. That could have been an alien in there. I don't know. But me and the sheriff were talking outside, and he was wearing his uniform. I didn't get close enough to smell him.
And Steve K with a great question. Was she awake the whole time at your place? Was there any time that you didn't see her?
She was awake the whole time, and there was not any time that I did not see her. In fact, our company left. My wife went to bed, and it was just Anjali and I for a couple hours, bullshitting in the living room, waiting for her ride to show up.
Interesting. And Water for Life, this is actually a good question. Says, do you think her mental status has changed or digressed since you met her?
I couldn't tell you that because I met her one time, 3 years ago plus, and we've had a couple conversations on the phone here recently. So I wouldn't be able to answer that question, as I don't think I know her well enough.
Okay, another question, and I'm going to preface this question. A lot of people have suggested that you should consider hypnotic regression, and people are asking, would you consider a hypnotic regression? But I tend to caution people against that because I don't know that that's really, especially some of these hypnotic regressors that see aliens everywhere, like the woman that Anjali went to, Barbara Lamb. Barbara Lamb, almost every time she hypnotically regresses somebody, they recall alien experiences. So, I mean, would you consider that?
I would consider. I've been considering getting hypnotized for other reasons. Again, I'm real protective about who I'm going to share that energy with. So.
Oh, and here's a great question, and I knew this would come up, and I would ask this one myself. Would you be prepared to do a show with her?
Well, of course I would.
Okay. Yeah, well, the door's open. She's going to do an interview here tomorrow, but she made me agree that there would be no other people involved, no surprise guests, no co-hosts, no panelists, or just me and her.
That's
but
fine.
I'll ask her tomorrow if she would agree to appear with you. Maybe that would be helpful. Did you tell Anjali that you excavated a tunnel on your land? I think we've been over that, but
no, I never told her anything like that because I wouldn't tell anybody something I didn't do. I'm going to one day. I am going to excavate a tunnel one day.
Yeah,
when I get time.
Interesting, man. Well, let us know if you find aliens, and I'm on a plane there, Brian.
Hey, I call, man.
I want the exclusive.
We'll do your show with them in the cave.
We could stream it. Yeah. Ash Pollard says, how did her daughter, I think Anjali answered this, but how did her daughter know Brian's address for the welfare check? I guess Anjali
asked for our address, didn't she?
Yeah.
She asked us for our address when she was on the phone with her daughter.
Yeah. Somebody, I don't know why, but people are asking what you think about Max. That would be her partner, her boyfriend.
Well, I don't know really what to think about Max. I just don't know if Max. I don't know. Max is obviously her partner, but I don't know Max. I just don't know if me and Max would get along.
Just so you know, people here have a sense of humor. Somebody wants you to invest in his recycled condom company. Sometimes you're not aware of this, but sometimes people put the questions up just to make me go, what is that? What are they asking? They're punking me. They're not,
That's funny.
Yeah. And Joe, just with an observation, says, Brian, will you please not consider hypnotic regression? It has been debunked repeatedly. Yeah, that's a real hot button issue because some people believe that the regressors just make suggestions that make people recall memories that aren't true or accurate. Right?
Yeah, I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't do it. I really don't need to do it for any kind of beings, because I know they exist. So I'm not questioning their existence. It'd be for other, psychological shit,
And I don't know why somebody's asking this. I don't recall her saying that you did, but somebody is asking, did you show your ID to Anjali at the coffee shop?
She claims we did, but I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't recollect that, but that's it. I don't remember about that.
Okay. Any other questions for Brian? Please put them in all caps. That really does help. We covered an awful lot of ground here. I'm not sure where to go next with you. But you did joke about doing sky watches or doing these maybe tours, right?
Yeah, you never know. Let's I'd rather just have somebody go ahead and start bidding.
Yeah, let them worry about finding those aliens, right?
And they can do all of it. Anjali can go ahead and, they can go ahead and start. They can start it. All they got to do is, they know what they got to do. It's okay. You know,
Somebody, Mikhail Mayhall, is asking, do you have or have you had any paranormal experiences that you are comfortable sharing?
I wish I did have any. I wish I did. You know, I've had a near death experience, and but I don't know if that counts as a paranormal. So, um, no, I don't really have any paranormal experiences that is, worth really trying to share about that.
Charlie Weiser's here in our live chat and says, mail me that lavender, please. And Robert Baratheon asks, this is a very human question. What's your favorite band or type of music?
Well, I'm always, I always like rock and roll, old 70s rock. I like the flute. I like a lot of music, actually. I like old country. I like hard, stuff sometimes, but mostly mellow these days. A lot of flute, acoustic guitar. I like to play the guitar.
Well, there you go.
So,
D-Rock is asking, at any time did Anjali appear to be in a disoriented or disassociated state, like having micro seizures?
not like that. No, just disoriented, I would say. Too much cannabis is what it was.
Yeah. So your recollection of her state of mind is that she was very inebriated on this cannabis oil? Impaired, would you say?
Well, she wasn't feeling good, and that's usually like that's one of the symptoms when you've had too much. You get the spins. Some people get nauseous. So she was kind of feeling like that, I think. That's but she appeared to be walking just fine. It wasn't like she was having a problem walking because she walked out to the ambulance just fine. So as far as, I don't know how disoriented she was. But I wouldn't say micro seizures. I didn't see anything like that.
Ruby asking, has Anjali ever approached you with someone else from her line of work in Intel? She did make these threats that she worked for the government, so I guess people are wondering if she approached you with other parties from the government.
Not as of yet, but we've gotten, somewhat that kind of threat from her,
Interesting.
in that fashion, I guess.
Frapsap is asking, do you think a lot of people have suggested that this whole thing is a government psychological operation for some reason? That's mostly because of her background. So do you think Anjali is still a covert government operative running a psyop?
Those thoughts have ran through our mind. We don't know shit, so who knows? She's something else, I must say. And whatever they're up to it.
Mike Gambale, does Wayne drape himself in lavender when he doses people?
Nope.
Was anybody wearing purple clothes that day? That maybe explain her seeing some purple being. I don't get how she's seeing a purple being then.
No, there was no purple.
No,
no, I don't drape. Nope. I don't even dose people anymore. How about that?
Well, look what happened the last time you did it, right?
Yeah. I don't take
dose
nobody home.
Somebody and they started seeing aliens. They went to the Lincoln Memorial and are having press conferences.
Yeah.
That's got.
We're not doing that shit anymore. I
can't. All right, and Plan B is asking, were there any other drugs taken?
Not to my knowledge. We're a holistic place here, so we're only into natural stuff. So if anybody else had drugs in their purse I'm just, or self, whatever, any kind of
so if she was on anything else, you weren't aware of her doing.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we don't have any pharmaceuticals here.
And Indiana is asking, do you think Anjali's experience was like astral travel?
Well, that's a possibility. I guess that's a possibility, but as she was astro traveling, her body was walking with us and hanging out with us. So if that's how astro travel works, that's cool. I can't wait to do it. I can't wait to hang out with my people and then later on let them know, hey, I wasn't even there. I was on another planet with beings
Yeah.
in their spaceship. And so let me know what happened. What the hell happened again last night? Because my body was there, but I wasn't there. That'd be pretty cool, I guess.
And Connor Brady with a very good question, because some people have said that Anjali is basically starting a cult, and it's kind of a scary cult too, because it's what a lot of cult experts would call a doomsday cult, because she says like the world's going to end in 2027, I think, or something like that, and we have to get ready for it. So Connor Brady is asking, does Brian think her guru narrative is dangerous to those with mental health issues?
I think it's very dangerous. Absolutely very dangerous. In fact, we've talked about that. And in fact, I guess that's what I'm more concerned about with our own life, is maybe some of these people that are not, mentally, because some of the I mean, look at you, you've had death threats over this bullshit, so,
yeah, people were so pissed off that expedition got canceled that they blamed me for finding you, but I didn't really find you. We found somebody else, and it was a whole big thing. Yeah. And Matt Dillon is asking, did she have any alcohol? Drinking before smoking or cannabis is never good. Were you aware that she was drinking either at the coffee shop or at your home?
I don't recall her drinking. I just don't recall that. There only a couple of us were heavy drinkers. The other couple, they were more of the drinkers, I think I was having wine that day. But I don't really get to do that because it's sugar. So that was, a rare event. So I don't recall. So I don't want to answer that.
This is a very good question. Did you feel that they're asking, was Anjali a spiritual guru type when Brian met her, or did that happen more after her encounter?
It was more of the after. Well, I mean, I've just been learning about this guru stuff here just recently, since August, since we've been talking. So, but no, as far as the spiritual guru type, I don't. Maybe spiritual, I suppose. As far as a guru type, no. I mean,
So she didn't strike you like a guru type when you met her?
Not really. Not really. She was interested in aliens, though, so that was cool.
And the true believers are here. Robert Pellavero says, "Why not let Anjali guide you to the cave with Stephen Cambion to prove the cave's existence?"
I'm totally down with that.
I would totally do that, but I would be pissed if I flew
and me.
I would do it, but if I flew halfway across the country with a bag full of cameras and shit, and then there was nothing there, I'd be a little upset.
You're gonna get upset.
But it'll be a nice vacation, though. I've always wanted to visit the area.
You're welcome anytime. Come on.
Yeah, and Dimensional Babe just with a comment saying, Brian is super humble given the circumstance. Kudos.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to be.
No, he can't. Indiana is saying, can Brian come on as a guest on the True Seeker interview with Anjali tomorrow? She expressly made me agree that there would be only me and her. So maybe in the future, I'll ask her tomorrow if she'd be willing to do that in the future. I'd be happy to host that. Maybe these two can hash it out and reach a better understanding, right?
Sure. I mean, maybe she'll change her mind tomorrow on the show. I'll be watching. I'll be there, ready. I'll be ready right there.
People want you to take, what is this? Somebody wants you to take your webcam to the barn doors in the middle of your house. Oh, I guess because of the arch thing. Did she ever talk about a fake alien invasion to you?
No.
Not that you recall.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
We'll post pictures of the barn door.
And Grant Haywood is asking, could the whole thing be a psychological operation to discredit experiencers or the topic in general?
I suppose it could be.
Yeah, and Wayne's welcome to participate in the chat, but I'm always, just so everybody knows, when a guest has certain conditions to agree to the interview, I always am a man of my word. So she specifically said no surprise guests, no panel members, no co-hosts, nobody else, just you and me, Stephen. And I said, okay. So I have to honor that agreement. But I will certainly, I promise you all, I will ask her to do an additional show with Wayne and her. And then, I think that would be the next step, because I think what we're going to have here, Brian, is he said, she said. Tonight is he said, and tomorrow night maybe she said, and then we'll be right where we started. Like, God, it's frustrating. Some of these rabbit holes are frustrating, right?
Yeah. Well, the only thing that won't be frustrating on this side is nothing's going to change over here as far as what happened physically.
Oh yeah, this is a good question. Did you guys talk about aliens at the house while you were baked? When she came back to your house from the coffee, I know that you said you talked about aliens a little bit at the coffee shop, and so did she. But were you guys talking about aliens when you were at your house?
I believe we were. I think we were talking about. We probably were, because we were talking. It was a subject as far as the sightings on the mountain in the 60s of a book that we're all looking for.
Yeah,
so
and
that was probably what that. So yes, I would say we probably had a little bit of talk like that, but I don't think it was too deep, because the other people that were with us, they weren't they weren't much into that. So I can see it not getting too deep,
Lord Ludicrous Plaid, with a kind, generous donation to the show, says, Brian, thank you for coming forward. I will keep you in my thoughts and prayers for continued recovery, wellness, and happiness. Great conversation tonight.
Hey, right on. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Joe is asking, who brought up aliens first? He's guessing it was her.
I couldn't answer that, Joe. It was just a conversation about aliens, so I don't know who did. I don't know.
I did neglect to ask you a few things. I wanted to know, like, how has this affected your wife and your marriage? Like, what does your wife think of all this?
My wife's been extremely stressed out. She's been extremely, extremely stressed out. As a matter of fact, that's a lot why I'm here, because she and Anjali had some words a few weeks ago, and it was just getting stupid. It's just stupid. There's no reason for threats or bullying or manipulation. So now that shit's occurring, I'm here. Here we are. My wife's pissed off, so now I'm pissed off. That's kind of where that is on that one.
Grapefruit.
She's lost a lot of sleep over this.
I could imagine. Yeah, you're all over the internet all of a sudden. Grapefruit Fizzies is asking, would Brian be willing to describe his near-death experience?
Sure, I would. I'll do that.
Yeah, earlier you said that's not you don't really have a paranormal experience. I would consider that definitely on the list, right?
It was pretty powerful, for sure. Yeah, I would rather describe that, on its own, but it was amazing. How about that? I'll describe it as absolutely amazing, and I'm looking forward to doing that again someday.
Yeah, hopefully only once though, right? Yeah. This is an interesting question, because as I recall, she basically said that at the coffee shop you said, do you want to meet some aliens? And then you took her back and told her there was an aliens in your base.
I don't recall saying that, because I wouldn't say that to anybody. I wouldn't bullshit somebody to say, hey, come meet some aliens when there's no aliens there. That's not my style. So The only thing that was ever talked about is the sightings on the mountain in the 60s. That's it.
Interesting. And Charlie Weiser is I'm not sure if you're aware, but Anjali is now claiming that she has Zoom calls that are going to contradict what you're saying here tonight, that she has recordings of. So
and that's okay. She can have, if she has recorded Zoom calls of us, like I said, and I'll say it straight up, we have had conversations and we did entertain this for a price.
Sure, so, very honest of you.
So what? So she's got recordings of us. She has some recordings she doesn't want to release. She's got this big surprise. She's going to release recordings of us that we sent her. I'll just tell you right now, Anjali, if you release recordings of me sending you my land, then don't do that. You don't have my permission. I'm going to publicly say right now, you do not have my permission to share any photos that I have shared with you or any talks that we've had. I'll make that clear. Do not send any pictures in public of our land in any way, or our faces, or you don't need to do that. There's no reason for you to defend yourself with us.
Yeah, I would hope that she would respect your privacy. She's been really vocal about doing everything to protect your privacy for quite a while. So I can't imagine why she would turn around and do that now. Steve K says, Brian, bless you, brother. You were totally bullied into all of this. Good vibes towards you, your health and well-being. And thank you, Steve K, for your kindness and generosity.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that.
A lot of people liking you tonight, Brian. Brian should become part of the UFO community. He seems to be cool and funny. I want to hear him talk about aliens and share his cannabis oil recipe. Seems to be good, strong stuff.
I think I will join this. It sounds fun.
I'm a big advocate of cannabis as medicine. I've partake myself. I have nerve damage in my paralyzed eye. The doctors would give me all kinds of opioids, and that never really did much for me other than make me unable to function. Cannabis alleviates the pain in my paralyzed and dead nerves, and no opiates, and I can function. So you're a big supporter of medical cannabis and cannabis oil for cancer treatment, right? It's been very beneficial for you.
It changed my world. I didn't know anything about it. After the surgery, I had a 13-hour cut on my neck. Then I did 1 round of radiation. My protocol was 2 rounds, but not the third, because the third would kill me, they said. So I ate this radiation pill, and to this day, I have issues from that pill. That was actually the last pill I've ever eaten. That's why, I haven't even had a Tylenol or an Advil since then. So that was February 17, 2014. I got so sick. I mean, I lost about 100 pounds. I couldn't eat. I threw up every day for probably 2 years, and maybe less than that. I don't know. I could be off on that. But anyway, it was a long time, and I just couldn't eat. Well, a friend of mine introduced me. He said, "Hey, do you know what Rick Simpson oil is?" And I had no idea. I said,
"That's the oil. That's the oil that somebody mentioned to me that said it's super, super strong and concentrated and would make you almost feel like you're having an out-of-body experience if you take too much."
It's really good. You in fact, just taking it in mild doses, micro doses, does wonders for people. I'm cancer patients of stage 4, or all cancer patients are recommended to do this at the cancer center that we go to. So I've been doing this ever since the day that I was introduced to this. I was able to eat a plate of food. I couldn't eat. I couldn't eat. I had to force food down me, and I hated it. But when this oil came into my life, man, I was thrashing the kitchen, So it's I've seen it do a lot of great things for other people as well, in a lot of different circumstances. I'm a firm believer. I think the whole world should be on it myself. I think if most people were on this, they would get rid of it would take a lot of their elements away if they
Mhm.
figured out their dose to take, that it wouldn't hurt, not too much. Like I probably overdid Anjali that night, because that was always a bad habit of mine, is I'd give people a little too much.
Plan B. This is what I'm saying, that people are so focused on the details of the story. And part of Anjali's story is that at your house was her, you and your wife, and another couple. And I guess people want to confirm if that part of her story.
That's it.
So there was five of you.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. How many people were at the house? 5, just as Anjali had described. Have you? Did you know that other couple, and are they aware of this whole internet story stuff?
We haven't. We kind of lost contact with them. They moved out of state, and we just haven't really kept in touch. So I don't know if they know or not.
Yeah. I selfishly was thinking, if you still knew them, I would call them too, because, if 4 of the 5 of you don't remember the aliens that were there that night, that, not that I need more convincing though, Brian, but
yeah,
I'm sure people are going to ask me, are you going to interview the other people too?
Well, I guess you could say we had a mild falling out because we haven't heard from them. So I don't really know what to say. I'm not going to go hound on somebody if they're not going to return my phone.
But those people, to the best of your recollection, that other couple didn't see aliens or have an alien experience or anything like that night,
no,
right?
Of course not. No, they
left.
Just
Anjali.
Yeah, just Anjali. I mean, they left on a normal night. They took off, and it was just a simple evening. So yeah, no, there was nothing. There was no, like I said, there was none of this talk. None of this talk of anything of this story was until last August that we even knew anything about this. Just like the world.
Right? I guess one of the last things I would like to ask you is because everybody is speculating on her motivations, on her why she's doing this. Is she after money, fame, power? Is she looking for a movie deal, a television deal? What do you think her motivation is for all of this story, this entire thing, and how much it is blown up? What do you think her motives are for doing all of this?
I really don't know, because she has made it clear that she doesn't want money. Although she's kind of offered some money out on the table, like, for instance, when I said $10 million, she said, "Oh, well, let's just make it 20. And we won't, take anything less than 15. It's like, oh, okay, well, hey, great. Of course I'm going to entertain that.
But did you think that was just talk, or that she actually had access to that kind of funding?
I didn't know what to think. So of course I'm going to entertain it. Right.
Wow. And Steve K is asking, oh no, wait, wrong question. I'm sorry. No is asking, Brian, have you ever suspected or dreamt of alien abductions?
Nope. I haven't. Not even after watching hours of shows before I went to bed.
Yeah, and somebody is asking me to ask you about Bigelow. Is it true that she mentioned Bigelow might step in and fund this whole adventure?
That's what she said Bigelow Aerospace wanted to step in and buy this land, yes.
Well, I can contact them and see if that's accurate part of her story, or if they've never heard of her, right?
Go ahead.
Try to follow that up.
It's part of this must be true.
Yeah. So, what do you think is next for you? You're gonna listen to what she has to say tomorrow?
Of course, I can't wait. I hope she, accepts me in, or has good things to say. I'm like I said, I'm not trying to come here and be an enemy or slander her or make her look bad in any way. I'm just basically coming in here to say, here's the deal. This is the Wayne, and everybody stop looking for Wayne and Trisha. And
actually, if you could wait one moment, this is what I'm going to ask you to do, and this is important because it seems to me like you two have been going back and forth. You and your wife and her have been going back and forth, and you were very adamant that you want to come here and communicate some things directly to her tonight. So I'm going to solo you, and if you could say anything to her about this whole situation she put you and your family through, about the future of whatever she's trying to do, I would like you to just talk directly to her. What would you like to communicate to her?
Anjali, I guess all I can say is whatever journey you're doing and you're on, is stay on it, and you know, believe in what you believe in. But you just, you know, there's no reason to be dragging us into it and doing this to our life. So please just respect that. And that would be it. That'd be what I would like to say.
Excellent. And we're just boy, time flies. We're just hitting 2 hours. So I guess we're going to wrap things up here. And you've never done one of these interviews before. So what's going to happen is I'm going to throw you out. I'm going to throw you out of here, and then I'm going to do a quick wrap up. But listen, I want to tell you 2 things. Number one, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming here and doing this and bringing us the other side of the story. Well, really 3 things. And number 2 is you talked about being respectful towards her and not wanting to beat her up or wishing her any ill will. I applaud you for, you know, how you've handled this, because one can understand that some people would get so pissed off that they would go scorched earth on her, creating this much drama and tension and anxiety in your life. You've handled it incredibly well. And the third thing I want you to know is that there's always an open door here. You're always welcome to come back. We can talk about something else, like your NDE experience or something else.
Well, thank you. That's great. I will come back. I got great things to talk about.
Well, we always need great guests here, and now you're famous. If nothing else, she made you internet. You are internet famous, Wayne.
I love it. Okay.
All right. Listen, and when I throw you out of here, you can just close down your browser or whatever. It won't affect me, just so you know. So I'm going to bounce you on out of here. Thank you very much for your participation. Everybody really wanted to hear from you tonight, and I'm so glad that we got this in the history books. Thank you again.
Likewise.
Thank your wife for me as well. You've got a beautiful wife. Lucky guy.
Very lucky man.
All right. You have a great night. Thank you, Brian. All right, friends, there we have it. What an incredible journey this has been so far. And now I'm certain that people may feel differently about Anjali and her stories of alien contact, having the benefit of hearing from a witness to the events that night, whose story largely incredibly contradicts Anjali's story. But the story isn't over yet, friends. And tomorrow night, I suppose Anjali will get her chance to respond to what Wayne had to say. And that will be tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you are all most welcome to come here and hear from her about these new and latest developments. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. I especially want to thank our guest tonight, Brian, and thank his wife for loaning him to us for a little while. It's been my pleasure to bring you this important new development in the story, and we're going to continue to follow this story wherever it goes. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night and